Data retention and archival determine how long information is kept and for what purpose, and these decisions sit at the intersection of legal obligation, operational need, and risk management. Keeping data indefinitely may feel safe, but it increases exposure, cost, and complexity without necessarily adding value. Deleting data too quickly can be just as damaging, especially when laws, contracts, or investigations require preservation. Retention strategy is therefore not about storage convenience, but about intentional life cycle control that balances duty with restraint. When retention and archival are governed deliberately, organizations reduce uncertainty and avoid the twin failures of over-retention and premature destruction. Before we continue, a quick note. This audio course is a companion to the CISS books. The first book is about the exam and provides detailed information on how to pass it best. The second book is a Kindle-only ebook that contains 1,000 flashcards that can be used on your mobile device or Kindle. Check them both out at cyberauthor.me in the Bare Metal Study Guide series. Retention requirements originate from multiple sources, including laws, regulations, contracts, business operations, and investigative needs. Laws and regulations often mandate minimum retention periods for records, such as financial transactions, personnel files, or communications. Contracts may impose additional obligations, especially where audit rights or dispute resolution depend on historical records. Business needs drive retention where data supports analytics, trend analysis, customer service, or operational continuity. Investigations and incident response introduce temporary needs to preserve data that might otherwise be eligible for deletion. A sound retention program reconciles these drivers rather than allowing any single one to dominate unchecked. Retention schedules are the mechanism that turns abstract requirements into operational rules, specifying how long different data types must be kept. Schedules typically vary by data category and sensitivity class, reflecting differences in legal duty and risk. Highly sensitive data often has shorter retention windows to reduce exposure, while regulated records may require longer preservation. Clear schedules reduce ambiguity by answering the question of when data should be deleted rather than leaving it to individual judgment. They also support automation, enabling systems to enforce retention consistently. Without schedules, retention decisions become ad hoc and difficult to defend. Archival differs from active retention because it focuses on long-term access with reduced frequency, cost, and operational impact. Archive data is not expected to support daily operations, but it must remain accessible for defined purposes such as audits, historical reference, or legal defense. Archival systems are optimized for durability and cost efficiency rather than performance. Moving data to archival storage reduces the attack surface of production systems while preserving required access. This separation helps organizations manage risk by limiting where sensitive historical data resides. Effective archival strategies balance accessibility, integrity, confidentiality, and storage constraints, rather than optimizing for a single factor. Accessibility must be sufficient to meet legal and business needs without making archive data as easy to access as live systems. Integrity ensures that archived records remain trustworthy over long periods, even as systems and personnel change. Confidentiality protects data from unauthorized access during extended storage lifetimes. Storage constraints include cost, scalability, and operational overhead. A balanced strategy recognizes that archival is not merely cheaper storage, but a distinct control environment. Immutable storage plays a critical role in archival by preventing unauthorized modification after data is preserved. Once data is written to immutable storage, it cannot be altered or deleted until defined conditions are met. This protects against both malicious tampering and accidental change,
preserving evidentiary value. Immutability is especially important for records that may be subject to audit, litigation, or regulatory review. It also strengthens trust in archival systems by ensuring that historical data remains a reliable reference. When used appropriately, immutable storage reduces the need for complex monitoring to detect alteration.
Legal holds override normal retention and disposal rules by suspending deletion when litigation, audits, or regulatory inquiries are anticipated or ongoing. A legal hold ensures that potentially relevant data is preserved intact, even if retention schedules would otherwise permit deletion. Implementing holds requires coordination across legal, security, and technical teams to identify affected data sources. Failure to enforce holds properly can result in sanctions, adverse inferences, or loss of credibility. Clear procedures for initiating, maintaining, and releasing holds are essential for defensible data management. Legal holds demonstrate that retention strategy must remain flexible under governance control. Disposal triggers occur when retention periods expire and no legal or business hold applies, signaling that data should be removed. Disposal is not an optional cleanup activity because retaining data beyond its justified period increases risk without benefit. Clear triggers ensure that deletion happens predictably rather than being deferred indefinitely. Automated triggers reduce reliance on manual action, which is prone to delay and inconsistency. Disposal also supports compliance with privacy principles that require limiting retention to what is necessary. When triggers are honored, data volumes remain manageable and exposure is reduced.
Secure deletion methods vary by media type and storage technology, and they must be selected carefully to ensure data is truly unrecoverable. Logical deletion may be sufficient for some systems, while others require cryptographic erasure or physical destruction. Cloud storage introduces additional considerations because underlying media may be abstracted from the user. Deletion processes must align with provider capabilities and contractual assurances. Inadequate deletion can leave residual data accessible long after it is presumed gone. Secure disposal completes the life cycle responsibly, ensuring that retention decisions are enforced in practice.
Indexing and metadata support retrieval of archived data without exposing content unnecessarily, which is critical for both efficiency and confidentiality. Indexes allow authorized users to locate relevant records quickly without scanning entire archives. Metadata can describe content type, date ranges, ownership, and retention status without revealing sensitive details. This separation reduces exposure by limiting who can view full content. It also supports audits and investigations by enabling targeted access rather than broad retrieval. Effective indexing turns archives into controlled resources rather than opaque storage pools. Access controls for archives must be more restrictive than for active systems, reflecting the sensitivity and evidentiary nature of preserved data. Archived records often contain historical snapshots that may be more sensitive than current data. Access should be limited to defined roles with legitimate purpose, such as legal, audit, or compliance functions. Purpose limitation ensures that access aligns with approved use cases rather than curiosity or convenience. Logging and review of access reinforce accountability over long periods. Strong access control preserves trust in archival systems. Encryption is essential for protecting archive data across long lifetimes, especially as storage technologies and threat models evolve. Data at rest encryption ensures that compromise of storage media does not expose content directly. Key management must be designed for longevity, ensuring that keys remain accessible to authorized parties while protected from loss or misuse. Key rotation and escrow strategies must account for the fact that data may be needed years later. Poor key management can render archives unreadable or insecure. Encryption and key governance together Safeguard confidentiality over time.
Records of retention and archival actions provide evidence that policies are followed and decisions are defensible. These records document when data was archived, when holds were applied or released, and when disposal occurred. They also capture approvals and exceptions, showing governance oversight. Such documentation is critical during audits, litigation, or regulatory review. Without records, organizations struggle to prove compliance even when practices are sound. Record-keeping turns retention strategy into a demonstrable control rather than an assumption.
In conclusion, data retention and archival strategies align legal duty with controlled long-term storage, balancing obligation with risk reduction. Retention schedules translate requirements into enforceable rules, while archival systems preserve data efficiently and securely. Immutability, legal holds, and secure disposal ensure integrity and defensibility throughout the lifecycle. Indexing, access control, and encryption protect confidentiality without undermining accessibility. Documentation and records provide accountability over time. When retention and archival are governed deliberately, organizations meet their obligations while minimizing unnecessary exposure.
Thanks for listening. For more audio courses, daily newsletters, and more, please visit baremetalcyber.com.